Other video. Hi, Stefan. The Pissdrinker is today going to drink a Riverwalk Farm to Kettle 2015 fresh hopped ale. Riverwalk, a very small, pretty new brewery from Newburyport, and this is a beer that's a month old. I've been trying to find all the fresh hop beers or wet hop beers that are around here. Seems like they get kind of late into the New England area, and this one actually, first time I've seen it, but it was bottled almost a month ago, uses actually New England fresh hops, and that's how they managed to do it. And this is supposed to be a Belgian blonde, so there's going to be some yeasty notes mixed in with the hoppiness. And they don't tell me like how they're trying to make it super hoppy, what hops they use or anything. You don't know too much, except they're hops just hours off the vine from neighboring Tamarack Farmstead. I'm excited to try it still. We'll see. This is what it looks like. Very pale. There was some sediment on the bottom, but I poured and really didn't get much at all in there. It's pretty good carbonation, not super high, but ample head. I did pour a little hard, but ooh. This actually smells very good, surprisingly good. It reminds me of some Belgian IPAs, actually. It smells like they used some noble hops. It's very grassy and lemony, with maybe some slight hints of berry. And it plays with the Belgian yeast. It's not a big fruity Belgian yeast. This one's more spicy and clean and dry. It's like Taurus Bourba Duranca Double X Bitter. So this is a fresh hop beer that's not like anything I've had. I guess this is the kind of fresh hop beers they might make in Belgium, more like than the fresh hop IPAs that you find in America. Very prickly, almost like an Imperial Pilsner. Tangy hoppiness on the tongue. A little bit of, just a touch of banana runt or bubblegum yeast, Belgian yeastiness, but the hop flavor dukes it out pretty well with that Belgian yeast. And the aroma is very strong, definitely. Especially for a beer that's not bottle conditioned or extremely highly carbonated. It smells very good. A very pleasant surprise. With some very freshly cracked black pepper in there, like that black pepper is almost fruity and spicy at the same time. Maybe a little kind of bergamot, orange, Earl Grey thing happening. I feel it could be a little bit fluffier, but this almost reminds me of some of the dry hopped Saison DuPonts. It's not nearly strong enough to be like the Duvel Triple Hop, which is a great series, but I feel like this one, this has even more of a hop aroma than those, which makes sense. Using the wet hops with all the oils intact and getting this definitely fresher than you can usually get anything from Europe. Kind of wish I'd actually bought 2 bottles, maybe. Maybe I'll go back. There wasn't, I didn't really think of, didn't know if they're going to make it sort of be some kind of saison, but it's pretty clearly but somewhere between maybe saison and the Belgian pale ale. Because it's got some of that dry, rustic hay yeastiness. And subdued fruity esters. It reminds me a little bit of some of the hoppier Mystic offerings, except that they've been using a lot of new wave hops, I've noticed. But this seems to, I bet it's like Hallertau, maybe Cascade, or Zotz, or they do a blend. They didn't explain if it was all wet hops. I think maybe it was, because there just seems to be so many flowery, perfumey fragrances in this that you don't get in a lot of Pilsners and hoppy Belgian pales because of the wet hops. And I hadn't poured any of the yeastiness part in there, but I feel like it's going to be pretty much the same. Maybe just a tad tart. A pretty simple, crackery Pilsner malt. I'm pretty sure they use Pilsner malt in this. Because Pilsner malt, it still has a kind of unique, intense crackery flavor as opposed to regular pale malt where it's kind of just nothing a lot of times. Let me do one more pour, get some more of that with a little bit of yeast in there. See how that looks. Just gets a little bit hazy. But I could tell just with this pretty dense, soapy, clinging head that it was going to be rather hoppy, but it's not your normal American hop style. It is European hops, which I definitely love a lot, especially when they're done like this. There used to be more beers that are hopped with the European hops in a way that Americans use American hops. I've had a couple beers from Riverwalk, and they've actually seemed like a lot of their beers have been trying to be pretty traditional English or European style. And this is definitely my favorite. The bitterness is up there. It is kind of like drinking some very lemony, highly brewed black tea, but with the fruity parts sticking out a lot more. And the aroma is very strong, and I'm very glad that I bought this. This is probably not available in very many places. The Riverwalk Farm to Kettle 2015. But it was bottled on September 16th. It's October 15th. And it's very good, but you can probably only get it around this area in Massachusetts, maybe New Hampshire. But if you see it, grab it, whomever the hell is watching this. And I'm gonna maybe start trying more Riverwalk stuff, especially because this bottle was $5 too. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. My most common score so far, but this surprised me, and it's very unique. There aren't many people making stuff like this in America. Doing a Belgian pale ale style with an American style of hopping using wet hops in the beer. Just amps up that noble hoppiness and the Belgian spices and fruits to something that's beyond anything I've ever had in a good traditional Pilsner or a good traditional Belgian pale ale or saison. Alright. Keep it lukewarm.